Hello, my friends. Let's talk about The Witcher. The Witcher is a game series that I have spent a ridiculous amount of time with over the years. I was first introduced to The Witcher games by watching the YouTuber and mod author Gopher play through the first two games on his channel. I finished watching these Let's Plays in time for the release of The Witcher 3, and with a few hundred hours logged into The Witcher 3, I've played that game about as much as I played Skyrim. Then I went back and I watched all of Gopher's Let's Play as well. But throughout my entire experience as a fan of the Witcher games, one philosophical question has plagued me. Is Geralt a cynic or a stoic? Let me explain. Formally, the thought of these two schools are easily discernible but share some similarities. Both schools are concerned with achieving a sage-like state of virtue called ataraxia and apotheia, meaning freedom from disturbance and imperturbability. The ancient Greek Cynics took a radical approach to Socrates' idea of virtue and how it relates to nature. For Cynics, all forms of disturbance and suffering came from human society, from anything unnatural. Diogenes, the Cynic, is the poster boy for this school. Stories of Diogenes tell of how he defaced his city's coins, masturbated in public, screamed at a pastry for being a tyrant, and while sunbathing, he told Alexander the Great to get out of his way so that Diogenes could enjoy the sunlight. Cynics found no value, and even active hatred, for pleasure and other things valued by society. Diogenes was seen as wise for not wanting any more than what he required by nature, but his poor behavior earned him the title Diogenes the Dog. Modern cynicism, however, isn't nearly as refined. Whereas the ancient cynics rejected the value of anything involved in society, modern cynics tend to claim that nothing is knowable and therefore nothing could have true value. Or even if something did have true value, we would be unable to know if this is the case. You can kind of think of modern cynics as an extreme version of the skeptics. Whereas skeptics criticize dogmatism by demonstrating that anything can be doubted, the skeptics also held themselves to a strong standard of not dogmatically attaching themselves to the doubting of ideas. Cynics, rather than exercising healthy doubt, actively and perhaps dogmatically assert that things are unknowable and valueless. And there are quite a few good reasons to see Geralt in this cynical role. With his tough, surly attitude, Geralt constantly criticizes and chastises people for not looking at problems practically and objectively. He is distrustful of sorceresses and their magic and their constant meddling in politics, while at the same time, Geralt chastises the political powers for discriminating against magical creatures and arbitrarily treating non-humans as monsters. Geralt also frequently breaks the Witcher rule of always demanding payment and frequently lives off what he can find on the path. A major theme in the Witcher games is the question of what makes something a monster. Geralt's answer is frequently that your choices, what you do, determine whether you are a monster or not. Geralt's actions often argue that the best course of action is to be objective and detached from a world that all too frequently fails to grasp that simple truth. This causes Geralt to doubt the value of the world he protects and whether his ideas of so-called monsters are actually true. However, Geralt's particular love for drinking, gambling, card games, and increasingly exotic sexual exploits might immediately disqualify him from true cynicism. The Stoics, too, found no value in pleasure or inherent value in social conventions, and took from Socrates not a focus on nature, but a focus on wisdom and knowledge as the only truly valuable thing. But the Stoics are a much more traditional school of philosophy than the Cynics were. They are what's called a complete philosophy, meaning they attempted at creating a system that addressed all the major philosophical topics which they found important. However, the Stoics are most famous for their ideas on emotions and how they saw emotion as they relate to that virtue of freedom from disturbance, ataraxia and apotheia. The Stoics' main claim to fame is that as rational animals, We humans may not be able to influence anything around us, but we may yet control how we let these things affect us, mainly asserting that we can control our reactions, emotions, and suffering through wisdom and practice. We become the sage with the virtues of ataraxia and apotheia by becoming purely rational. In the games, Geralt has a major narrative reason to be able to claim the mantle of Stoicism, the Witcher mutagens, and their supposed effect of suppressing and eliminating emotions. I say supposed because despite his muted and reserved demeanor, with all the time we have spent, we can easily see Geralt's passions leak out even as he claims to be without them. After all, most of the Witchers in the School of the Wolf are highly emotive people. Perhaps Geralt just lies to keep his mind on the path of controlling his impressions and his rationality. The Stoics, of course, have one main opponent in the world of philosophy, and that's the skeptics. And as I stated earlier, the modern cynics are very much like extreme skeptics. You see, a Stoic view of the world, as well as the Stoic path to virtue, requires an ability to have certain knowledge about the world, and therefore claim certain knowledge about yourself and your ability to master your own rationality. And when I say certain knowledge, I mean not particular knowledge, but knowledge that cannot be doubted, knowledge that is actually and absolutely true. The profession of the Witchers demands that certain knowledge can exist and is obtainable. Mutagens will affect the body in exactly this way. Potions will provide exactly that benefit at exactly that much toxicity. And the Draconid will respond predictably to the grape shot bomb. But the materialism side of Stoicism makes certain knowledge a much easier task. The Stoics were materialists. They believed that nothing existed other than matter and bodies, and rejected the idea of souls or gods. On the other hand, determining the value of a society, or of politics, or even of your loved ones is a lot more difficult than more materialistic judgments of value. They are harder to value without letting your emotions out, and allowing yourself to be vulnerable by letting go of harsh rationality. If I had to pick one, I would say that Geralt usually leans more to the side of the Stoics, but his cynical side keeps him at an emotionally safe distance, away from the things that he wants to care about, but has no ability to change. I think that Geralt's story over all three of these games is a struggle to overcome his cynicism, to grow beyond his version of Stoicism, and eventually help Geralt into finding a realistic form of optimism that allows Geralt a means of embracing what he fears will disturb him, a way to find value in the friends that he finds on the path. But before I end, you might have seen these scenes coming, so I want to do a couple quick shoutouts to some philosophical references in the game. The first one being Plato's theory of forms as described by the ugliest man alive.
I'm looking for Ciri. Ashen hair, scar on her cheek. Seen her? How can I help you? You think universals exist as real and distinct entities, or only as mental constructs? So do I.
And in this scene, we see Bart giving a demonstration of Ludwig Wittgenstein's solution to all philosophy.
Siggy you like. Talk me with.
Anything suspicious happened before the robbery?
Suspicious. But no understand.
Something not normal, something strange. Maybe you saw, felt, heard something?
Yeah, yeah. But here, his.
What kind of hissing was it? Like a snake?
No, his order, not animal all act.
Right, so like what?
Like, rock?
A hissing rock. The hissing, where did it come from?
But his here in love tree.
What?
Where but turkey dump.
All right, let's change the subject.
Good. But time got. Fun go. But God, now nothing.
Why do you like Siggy so much?
Siggy good. Siggy can't take part.
He locked you up, alone, underground. Don't get bored down here? Not much to do.
When but not much do. But think. Lots.
What about, if you don't mind my asking?
Rocks.
Rocks?
Rocks interesting.
Thanks for your help. So long.
Long. Long. Long.
Thank you for watching, my friends. In all honesty, getting this video out was very difficult for me. I was under the weather this entire week. I've been very fatigued and constantly overworked at my various jobs. So I am very glad that I was able to get this out to you on time. If you did like the video, please subscribe to the channel. I don't advertise anyone to promote my channel around the internet, so the only way that we can grow is with your help. And, as always, stay true.